It is the 8th day of February, the second Monday of the month, and that means Jared and Jacob from Marble City Pharmacy joining us. And gentlemen, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Did you take that red-eye flight back from Tampa yesterday or not?
Man, absolutely. Sat in the VIP section right next to Brady's parents.
No doubt about it. Hey, February is American Heart Month.
February is American Heart Month. We want to get into some issues that have to do with the heart. February is Heart Month every year, and it's important every year, but because of COVID, there are some issues. So definitely want to get to that in a minute.
So, kind of give us a COVID update. You know, we're taking these shots, and are you guys still doing the shots?
Yes. All right. Let's try to kind of cover the spectrum. As far as COVID update, disease numbers are slightly down, and we made it, I guess, past the holiday hump, I would assume, is the reasoning for that. But it's still out there. People are still getting it. You know, we still have numbers. Vaccinations are ongoing. It's been a slow rollout. Everybody knows that. That's not a secret formula I'm spitting out. It's been a slow rollout. You know, providers and state are doing the best they can. Starting today, a new group is being added to the eligible criteria, which basically now, I think roughly half the state is available, somewhere around 50%. Between all those that have gone before, 75 and up, first responders, healthcare workers, teachers, education employees, all that was already. And then today, we add everybody 65 and up, or people with what is a huge list of other complicating diseases and factors. So we're basically 50% of everybody out there is eligible beginning today. Doesn't mean there's necessarily a shot out there with their name on it, unfortunately. But eligibility increases today, and the state is doing what they can to increase availability.
All right, so where does Marble City Pharmacy plug in here with the
Thank
inoculation?
you for asking that question.
Yes.
Okay. So Jacob is right. Today, the Department of Public Health is starting to schedule appointments for the next group, which, like he said, just a reminder, 65 to 75 and less than 65 with certain chronic medical conditions. At Marble City Pharmacy, the vaccine that we have is already promised, right? So we have a very long waiting list just to get on any cancellations that we might have. So let me be a little bit more specific with that. We got a certain number of doses from the Department of Public Health for the first round. This is a 2-dose vaccine, the one we have. It's made by Moderna. So all of the first round is promised. We've now been shipped the second round, but the second round has to go to the people that got the first round. And so it's going to take us another few weeks to work through this first round of first and second doses. So we understand your interest in the vaccine. We appreciate your interest in getting the vaccine for us, but just understand there's not any more vaccine at Marble City Pharmacy for us to open it up any further right now. So we are hoping in the mid to late March range, we're going to be moving on to our next round of first and second shots, if that makes sense.
What is the deciding factor of who gets what as far as pharmacists are concerned? When you're going to get the next round, and how do you know when you're going to get it?
I'm sure there is a wonderful equation for that somewhere in Montgomery. That is not shared with us. What we get is an email telling us when we're getting some. And how many we're going to get, and we can ask for some, and then we get told we'll get what you get when you get it. And the state is in charge of what brand of the available vaccines they have, and who gets what, and how many you get. All that is controlled at a much higher up level than us, and several factors that go into it. Freezer availability for one, what kind of storage facilities you have, but yeah, and then geographically, the state decides how many doses need to go to each area, but it's very much controlled above our heads.
Has there been conversations of people who have received the vaccine from you guys, or any place that you know of that's doing the vaccines, and they're available several places, of side effects from the vaccine?
There have been, and I would say the overall incidence of side effects doesn't seem to be much more than any other vaccine that we ever give. It is true that in persons, especially who have had the COVID virus already, they seem to have a more, what's the word? They have more reactions than a regular patient, and they seem to be a little bit more severe. So we've had some people who've had COVID in the past who got the first dose, and maybe they've had a fever. Maybe they've had just a little bit of shortness of breath in the 1 to 2 to 3 day range. Nothing like having actual COVID itself. So we're not going to try to cover it up and say there's nobody who's had adverse reactions. They have. For the most part, though, far and away, particularly with the first dose, we haven't had much trouble. As you probably have heard, there have been reports in other parts of the state for people having the second dose and having a worse reaction to the second dose than the first. Again, I don't know of any life-threatening reactions of that going on around here.
We continue, of course, it's American Heart Month. I guess, is heart attacks the #1 killer in America?
Not specifically, but close. Okay. Heart disease is absolutely still far and away the #1 killer in America. Just for comparison purposes, not to belittle anything, but just so you know why we're changing subject today. In the United States, in the last, year and a half where we're at on this, a little over a year, a little over 2 million people have died of COVID-related issues, or chalked up as COVID-related issues. 18.6 million are what dies of heart disease every year in America.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's #1, and again, far and away for a reason. And so while we're not belittling anything in the past, we do need to look at some other things, and this being Heart Month is the perfect time to bring it back up as, once again, heart disease, #1 far and away killer in America.
With the pandemic, you know, we've become more homebound.
Sure.
You know, we're not active as we once were before the pandemic, and I guess I'm assuming that the pandemic has affected heart disease.
There's no doubt. First of all, the effects of the pandemic on a person's physical health. Let's consider that first, and that would be a lot of people are eating more. Maybe it's stress eating more poorly, things that they shouldn't, you know, comfort foods. When I'm stressed, actually I like ice cream even when I'm not stressed. But eating more poorly, exercising less, or maybe none at all. Because of depression and anxiety, people are turning to more alcohol. People are not quitting smoking, maybe even increasing the amount of smoking they're doing. All these things are lifestyle choices that are increasing our risk for heart disease. So that's #1. The second thing is that people are not getting checked out by their physicians. And even more importantly, people are not going to the hospital when they have symptoms of a heart attack or a stroke, or signs of a heart attack or a stroke. This is a very big deal. And so the American Heart Association has started a campaign, Don't Die of Doubt. Kind of like that. Wish I had thought of it myself.
I did.
But you understand what it means. It means don't stay home when you may have the warning signs of a heart attack or a stroke, because people are staying home and dying because they're not getting the help that they need.
Wow. You know, our country and our world has been so anxious in the last 12 months with COVID-19, and for every reason, we have every reason to be anxious, I guess, because a lot of it is the unknown, but stress from all of this puts stress, Jacob, on your heart.
Yeah, I think we mentioned 2 or 3 segments ago, it's been a while, that, you know, people saw the reports that the prescriptions for antidepressant, anti-anxiety drugs have just skyrocketed in the last year, right? Yeah,
sure.
So people are sitting at home, they're upset. When this all started, I told myself, you know, I was at home a little more, not a lot, obviously, we're still at work every day, but yeah, I was home a little more on the weekends than I was. I'm going to use this. I'm going to get in shape. I've got time now. Time's always been my excuse, right? I don't have time to get in shape, to worry about my diet, all this. I got time now. And I wasted most of it, let's be honest. I started out pretty good, and then like a New Year's resolution, right. And so we got a lot of stress on our hands, and time on our hands, and opportunities to either improve or decline our health. Unfortunately, by and large, it appears we're declining them to improve our health. And I fear that over the next couple of years, and some doctors have mentioned this, we're going to see a lot of health problems that are not from people who had COVID, but are COVID related because we didn't take care of ourselves or go to the doctor or respond to medical emergency. I'm scared I might catch the virus at the hospital, so I'm going to sit at the house while I'm having a heart attack or a stroke. So all these things over the next few years, I think we're going to be able to measure out and say heart disease was so much more of a problem during COVID because people were scared to react and didn't take advantage of time.
And Jared, especially older America.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, older America is the population that, unfortunately, every year, forget COVID, older America is always a population that are having more deaths due to heart disease. But when you take an older person who is, obviously we have enough data on COVID now that we understand, it's affecting older Americans very much differently than our school children and our younger people. And so when you take the anxiety and fear over COVID, when you take the population that is already having heart disease problems, you compound those things, and yeah, there's no doubt it's much worse, because the older American is the one who is not wanting to get out, is not wanting to go to the doctor, is skipping the appointments that they would normally have, and maybe ignoring the symptoms because they don't want to go to the hospital. Listen, I'll say this, I don't know if we've said this yet, but if we did, I'm going to say it again. The safest place to go if you might be having a heart attack or a stroke is the hospital. It's not your home. So please, again, do not ignore those things.
How can we know, Jacob, that it's not indigestion from Tampa Bay beating Kansas City?
Too many
yesterday?
chicken wings.
Buffalo wings.
Yeah, it can be much more serious than that, and we've got to take it as such.
We do, and the answer to how do you know is often you don't. And so, 2 years ago, somebody would be at the house and they'd start clutching this left side of their chest and it's burning and they're not feeling good at all. And you know what they would do? They would do what you've been taught to your whole life. They would either call 911 or go to the emergency room. Let's just make sure that it's buffalo wings, not heart attack. People aren't doing that. People aren't doing that at all right now. They're taking that chance that it's buffalo wings when it may also be a heart attack. And we're losing people to that. And so again, that's if you get nothing outside of this morning, it's Heart Month. Don't die of doubt. Go to the hospital. Get checked out if you're having symptoms of a heart attack or a stroke that you're not sure if that's what it is or not. Don't be scared of COVID and stay at home when you may be having a serious life-threatening emergency.
And with the pandemic, a year, this coming March, just in less than a month now, and we have tried to adjust. Our kids have been out of school, they've been at home, parents trying to balance it, working and making sure their kids do their school and stuff. And then you've got the increase of alcohol and smoking involved in that, and that's a recipe for disaster.
Look, alcohol and smoking are not good for your heart. I think we all know that.
I think we've covered
right?
it, right.
It's kind of like whatever your personal weaknesses are, you kind of know that they're your weaknesses, and you need to do something about those weaknesses, but we don't always do we? And that's true of all of us. And we're not picking on people who smoke or drink, but the fact is that those are two of the main lifestyle things that contribute to an unhealthy heart. And so if you could just make a list of the things that would help you the most moving forward to have good heart health, you got to start with those two things. You also move on to what's next, and probably that is lose weight. Persons who are overweight, it's not that difficult to understand. The more weight that you carry around, the harder your heart has to work. And the harder your heart has to work over time, the greater the chances of your heart giving out. That's what we call congestive heart failure or heart failure. Eventually your heart is working so hard, it just gets weaker, right? And it becomes easier to have a heart attack and pass away like that. So stopping smoking, stopping drinking alcohol, losing the extra weight, eating better, all of us could take a lesson from that. Those are things that could help us moving forward and keep us from being what's being talked about by the American Heart Association right now.
Very quickly before we go this morning, let's talk about a couple of signs that an individual can have of a possible heart attack or stroke.
Yes, we've mentioned several times this morning, don't stay at home through the signs. I guess we need to clarify. Heart attack and stroke, and most of you have heard this a million times, so just hit a quick refresher. Heart attack, so chest pain, numbness or pain. It can be in either arm. We usually associate it with left, and that's generally true, but it can go either way. So chest pain, numbness in the arms, just a lot of pressure, lots and lots of pressure. Those things are signs of heart attack that are very common. Signs of stroke would be facial drooping, trouble speaking, slurred speech, instant trouble, remembering and communicating things just kind of at the drop of a hat, and trouble moving and controlling yourself. Those are quick and common signs of a stroke. You start having those things, don't sit at the house and wonder, was it the chicken wings, or am I just tired? Mm-hmm. Those kind of things. Get it checked out. You're much safer going to the hospital and getting that seen too.
Yeah, and I've heard this down through the years, Jared, as we go this morning. Well, I felt that, but it went away, so it must not have been anything.
It was nothing to worry about it.
Look, that's obviously a poor choice, and so that happens all the time. I had something temporarily, it went away, that sort of thing, but you can't ignore it, right? You just can't ignore it. And without some certain specific lab work at times, without blood work and other types of tests, you cannot differentiate yourself between something that's minor and something that's major. You just can't. So you've got to get professional help.
A lot of our audience this morning are either have taken one round of the shots or about to start taking the inoculations for COVID. Again, let's capsule where we are at Marble City Pharmacy on this.
Where we are, again, is the doses we currently have in-house are appointmented out. We're still in our first round, and the doses we have coming in are earmarked for those same first round people to get their second round, because it is a two-part vaccine. We will not be able to get more and open up more appointments until mid to late March. We are currently still working through our first and second doses for our first round of people.
All right, sounds good. Thank you guys for coming this morning.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, Health Monday with Jared and Jacob from Marble City Pharmacy. We'll be back with more Daybreak after this.